Ethan was 22 years old, a college student, and lived in a small apartment in Seattle. He loved horror, belonged to horror groups, and searched for rare recordings. That's when he stumbled upon a closed group called Forbidden Files. The administrator sent him a link to a video with one condition: watch alone, at midnight, with the lights off. Ethan thought it was a prank and complied. At midnight, he sat in the darkness, illuminated by the glow of his laptop screen. The video was only a minute long. It showed a man in his 50s sitting in a chair. He didn't move, only staring at the camera. His eyes were unnaturally wide. Ethan thought it was a bad act. Then the man fell to the floor. The recording ended. Ethan closed his laptop and went to bed. He dreamed of the same man. He stood by the bed, leaning closer and closer, his lips moving, but no words came out. Ethan woke up at 3 in the morning. His heart was pounding. He picked up his phone. The same video was on the screen. The play button was blinking, as if inviting him to press it again. He turned off the phone. He lay down. But he couldn't fall asleep. He thought he saw a shadow in the corner of the room. Not his shadow. Someone else's. It stood motionless, but grew in size. Ethan turned on the light. The shadow was gone. The next day, he deleted the video, cleared his history, even reset his browser settings. But that evening, when he opened his laptop, the same file reappeared on his desktop. Title: Watch and Die, copy. Ethan didn't open it. He simply deleted the file. A minute later, it reappeared. With the same title. He messaged the group administrator. An hour later, a reply came: "You watched. The video is now yours. It will haunt you until you give it to someone else. Find the next viewer before sunset on the third day. Otherwise, it will take you." Ethan's heart sank. He remembered the man in the chair. He'd fallen. Maybe he, too, had tried to transmit the video, but didn't have time? Ethan called his friend Kyle. He didn't answer. He texted in the chat, "Urgent. We need to talk." Kyle replied an hour later, "I watched the video. What about you?" Ethan realized they'd both fallen into a trap. But Kyle said he had one day left. He'd already found a new viewer, his girlfriend. She'd agreed to watch. Kyle was calm. "She'll watch tonight at midnight," Kyle said. "And I'm free." Ethan wanted to warn the girl, but he didn't have time. At midnight, he heard a scream coming from his phone. It was Kyle calling. Ethan answered. It wasn't Kyle's voice on the line, but the same man from the video. "Your friend tried to trick me. He didn't give me the video, he just showed it. Now it's mine. You're next." The connection was lost. Ethan realized he could only hand over the video voluntarily after explaining the rules. If he tricked her, the curse would return. He was alone. 2 hours remained until sunset on the third day. He went outside. He needed to find someone willing to watch. But who would believe him? He approached a stranger in the park and began to explain. The man laughed, saying Ethan was crazy. The sun was setting. Ethan despaired. Out of the corner of his eye, he could already see a moving shadow. It was getting closer. He opened his laptop right there on the bench, started the video, and handed the phone to the passerby. The young man picked up the phone, laughed, and pressed play. A minute later, he paled. "What is this?" he asked. "Now it's your turn," Ethan replied. The man dropped the phone. But the video had already disappeared from Ethan's device. It had moved. Ethan exhaled. The shadow stopped advancing. It slowly retreated and dissolved into the twilight. Ethan knew the curse had passed on to someone else. But he also knew that one day the video might return. He broke his laptop, changed his phone, and left the city. But sometimes, waking at night, he checks the screen. Afraid to see the flashing play button. I'm afraid the video is back. And one day it will definitely come back. It always comes back. Ethan moved to another state. He changed his phone number, his laptop, even his social media handle. He got a job at a small bookstore, renting a room from an elderly woman. Life returned to normal. He almost forgot about the video. Almost. 6 months later, Kyle called him. He was alive. His voice was normal, not unfamiliar. Ethan asked cautiously, "How did you survive?" "The guy you gave the video to was able to watch it to the end," Kyle said. "The curse transferred to him. I just blacked out. I woke up in the hospital. The doctors said my heart stopped for a minute. But I came around." Ethan exhaled. He was afraid Kyle was dead. But his joy quickly gave way to anxiety. "What about that guy? What happened to him?" "I don't know. I was looking for him. I thought I'd warn him. But he disappeared. No one knows where he is." They talked a little longer and said goodbye. Ethan thought it was over. But a week later, he saw the shadow again. In the corner of his room. It was small, barely noticeable, but it was moving. Ethan turned on the light, the shadow disappeared. He turned it off, it reappeared. He took out an old phone he hadn't used in 6 months. He turned it on. There was no video on the screen. But there was a message from an unknown number. "You thought you passed me on? I'm not passing on. I'm multiplying. There are 2 of us now. One for you, one for that guy. Soon there will be 3 of us." Ethan's heart sank. He realized the curse didn't end with passing on. It multiplied. Each new viewer created a new copy, and the old one remained with the previous one. Now they were all trapped. He contacted Kyle again. Kyle confirmed. He, too, had a shadow. It was growing darker. One night, Kyle woke up to a shadow touching his face. The next morning, he discovered a black fingerprint on his cheek. It wouldn't wash off. "What should we do?" Kyle asked. "I don't know," Ethan replied. "But we have to find whoever created this video in the first place." They began their investigation. They combed through old forums and deleted accounts. A month later, they found a man named Martin. He lived in an abandoned house on the outskirts of Detroit. Martin was the first to receive the video from his late friend. He watched it 5 years ago. And since then, the shadow hasn't disappeared. Ethan and Kyle went to see him. Martin met them at the door. He was pale, thin, and his eyes were sunken. The shadow behind him was enormous, almost taking up half the wall. "Why did you come?" Martin asked. "You'll only hasten the end. The shadow feeds on fear. The more we fear, the faster it grows." "How can we stop it?" Ethan asked. "Nothing. I've tried everything. I burned the appliances, sealed the windows, installed mirrors. The shadow still comes back. It feeds on our thoughts. We create it ourselves. The more we think about it, the stronger it becomes." Ethan thought, if the shadow feeds on fear, maybe it can be weakened. Stop being afraid. He returned home. Kyle returned to his own. They agreed, don't think about the video, don't check the corners, don't turn on the light at night. Ignore it. The first 3 days were hard. Ethan flinched at every rustle. But the shadow remained. It didn't grow. On the 5th day, it faded. By the 10th, it had almost disappeared. A month later, the shadow had completely disappeared. Ethan exhaled. Kyle said the same. They had one. But Ethan knew the video still existed. Somewhere on the internet, a new person was watching it. And that person's shadow was growing. But now Ethan didn't care. He'd learned not to be afraid. And that saved him. But sometimes, waking at night, he checks the corner of the room. Afraid to see the shadow. Afraid it's back. But now it's quiet. Only silence. And a whisper in his head repeats, "You're next." Or was it just his imagination? Ethan doesn't know. And he doesn't want to know. 2 years passed. Ethan no longer saw shadows. He stopped being afraid of the dark, stopped checking corners. Kyle, too, returned to normal. They called each other occasionally, but tried not to think about that video. However, Ethan knew the curse hadn't disappeared. It had simply passed on to others. One night, a girl he didn't know called him. She was crying. "Are you Ethan?" she asked. "My name is Emma. My boyfriend was watching some video. Now he won't wake up. The doctors say he's in a coma. And I found your number in his phone." Ethan was silent. He knew he had to answer, but he didn't want to return to that nightmare. "Please," Emma said. "You're the only one who can help." Ethan sighed. He told her everything. About the shadow, about the fear, about how the only way to survive is not to be afraid. Emma listened without interrupting. "What should I do?" she asked. "Don't watch the video. Delete it. Forget about it. And don't be afraid. The shadow isn't yours until you press play." Emma thanked him and hung up. Ethan didn't sleep until morning. He thought about how many more people would watch this video. How many shadows were already wandering the rooms. And how many of them would one day return to him. A week later, he received a letter. No return address. Inside was an old photograph. It showed him standing in his room, and behind him loomed a huge shadow. Black, with long fingers. On the back was written, "I didn't leave. I waited for you to relax. Now I'm back." Ethan turned the photograph over. His hand was shaking. He looked at the wall. There was no shadow. But in the corner, where the light didn't reach, something was moving. He turned on the lamp. Nothing. He turned it off. The movement resumed. He realized the shadow wasn't leaving. It was just waiting. Waiting for him to be afraid again. And then it would grow. This time, he decided not to be afraid. He walked to the corner, reached out, and touched the darkness. The cold burned his fingers. But the shadow didn't grow. It trembled and began to melt. "I'm not afraid of you," Ethan said. "You're just a shadow. And I'm alive." The shadow disappeared. The room grew brighter. Ethan exhaled. He knew this wasn't the end. But he had learned to overcome it. Fear. Or rather, the lack of fear. The next day, he texted Emma, "How's your boyfriend?" She replied, "He opened his eyes. The doctors can't explain it." "Thank you." Ethan smiled. Perhaps he had saved more than just himself. He turned off his phone and went to bed. In the darkness, he could only hear his own breathing. The shadow was gone.